But wait, can you hear our children crying? They're calling from all over this land. They're glaring at today's page. Is your Australia fair? Is your Australia fair? So come on! Come rise and join the rising. Come help us alter course. Come join your children singing. Let's advance Australia fair. It's time to advance Australia fair. It's time to come rise and join the rising. Come help us alter course. Come join your children singing. Let's advance Australia fair. It's time to advance Australia fair. But wait, can you hear our children crying? They're calling from all over this land. They're glaring at today's page. Is your Australia fair?
Hello, Karri. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
And
you
let's
too.
get started with this. Now, you were working the mines. We won't tell them what you're doing because it's a highly specialised job.
Yeah.
But we'll go back in time. You had trouble carrying children.
Yes, I did.
Let's hear about that.
So prior to the mines, when my husband and I got together, I had a number of miscarriages and we couldn't conceive to term. We kept losing them within the first term and the doctors were like, oh, it's just normal. You're just that 1 in 4 people that have this happen to.
I know they say it's normal, but that must have been very hard for you to hear.
Very tough, very
Yeah.
tough. And so it's only after the 3rd miscarriage that they actually start to investigate.
The 3rd miscarriage?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you get to the 3rd, they'll start doing more blood tests, more scans and all that. And then we came to Perth and started doing all the testing, fertility clinics and things like
So
that.
you were living outside of Perth?
We were outside of Perth at the time and
Yeah.
we moved closer.
Just to try fix this problem.
Yeah.
So you wanted a family?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So eventually, you know, I ended up having a gastric sleeve surgery, and then lost a heap of weight. I also had a thyroid condition, which was part of what was going on. And
Have you tried to lose weight before?
Yeah.
And no luck?
Because I like a high protein diet was bulk on a bit. But yeah, I tried dieting and it wasn't working. Like the thyroid just stalled metabolism.
Yeah.
And so at that point, my thyroid just it was very, very underactive, and I was just piling on the weight. And I was on a what do you call it? The meat diet, the cannibal diet.
Carnivore diet.
Carnivore diet. Yeah, it's just meat and eggs.
Yeah, that's right. I've been on that.
Prior to that, I did the keto, and then I did Weight Watchers, and I think it was 7 different diet things I tried, and nothing was working. I just couldn't shed the weight. I was even running at that point, and I still couldn't lose it. And then my hubby actually went and had the surgery, and I spoke to his surgeon, and I opted to go for it, and lost 52 kilos
Wow.
in a very short time.
Yeah.
Felt really good.
Yeah,
Got
I
it
bet.
on, got pregnant, and
This was the fourth one then.
this was the sixth.
The sixth one.
The sixth.
Wow.
So I'd lost 5 in total prior to that.
Man, that must have been hard to bear.
Very tough. Very
Yeah.
tough.
So what was the marker once you had the sixth one? What was the marker? Was like the first trimester you reached and got the...
It was always the 6th or the 10th week mark that my
Okay.
thyroid would go more underactive, and progesterone would drop suddenly, and then
Yeah.
I would just lose it.
Yeah. But so suddenly you're on your way.
So I had no problems conceiving.
Yeah.
It was just staying pregnant.
Yeah, but with the sixth one...
with my little boy, my little rainbow baby,
Yeah.
we got there.
So
And
because when you're pregnant though, you must have been every day, you must have woken up and thought, we're still going.
Yep.
That
Yep.
must have been exciting, but also nerve-wracking.
nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I bet.
And then I had a couple of bleeds, and every bleed was
Oh my
like,
God.
oh God, here we go again.
Yeah,
You know, it's done, it's over.
Yeah.
But then it'd be a couple of days, and the doctors would do the scan. They'd be like, no, we're all good. We're all good. There's still
So
heartbeat.
this little rainbow baby was determined to be
Yep.
born.
Because when you get told there's no heartbeat, that just absolutely breaks you.
Yeah, I bet.
And so when we finally actually got there, it was we ended up having a fertility specialist, which I thank them to this day, because without them, if they weren't tracking it at the time,
Yeah.
and they actually found that what the cause was. We got lied to for so long.
What was the cause?
It was the progesterone issue.
Okay.
My thyroid would go out, I'd drop progesterone, and then miscarry.
Oh, so the body
And
would
they
go,
actually
yeah.
caught it as it was happening on the I was on week 10, and because I'd tracked every pregnancy before that, I wrote it in a diary, and menstrual planning, all the rest of it. Week 10, I'd actually lost a baby at that point. I'd had a bleed and lost a baby. It actually died inside me, and I had to have a clean out. And I said to them, this is the time it happened last time. And I'm like, what's going on now? And so they checked it all out, and they were like, we got to do progesterone supplementation. So we went through all of that, the injections in the tummy, and I hate needles.
Wow.
I absolutely hate them.
Yeah.
I've got a phobia of them.
Yeah.
But we did that. And then sure enough, we kept going, got to 15 weeks, and they're like, okay, you're kind of in a safe zone now. We're going to pass you over to care to the hospital. My GP was over the moon, that we'd made it that far.
Yeah.
And and then when hospital took over care, it was a bit of a mess.
Oh.
Because in the hospital system, you don't get the same person all the time, even though I had requested a continuity of care.
Yeah.
They don't listen to birth plans. They don't listen to what you want. It's their way or the highway.
It's a conveyor belt.
And you're in a system.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. With my heart attack, I found that. In fact, I gave up to it in the end. I thought, I'm just on the conveyor belt.
Yeah.
I'll just do whatever I'm told.
And so when it came to birth, I had quite a few false labours.
Oh, really?
Because of stress.
Yeah. And this was in the COVID period too.
Yeah. So this was so when the pandemic was announced, in the very first couple of weeks of January, I was in hospital giving birth.
Wow.
And I was already
Just because you needed more stress.
Yeah. I was already noticing the nurses were being very obsessive over certain things. Things were starting to go in lockdown. There was a lot more security patrols in the hospital. And at this point, I was in and out up until that time. From December through to January, I had 3 false labours. And then when the real deal came, I was very high risk because of losing babies, I was considered high risk, and also because I'd had that surgery and I was losing weight through pregnancy. I struggled.
Oh my God.
The doctors want you to put weight on during pregnancy, but I was losing it.
Yeah.
And I was, my bub was born very small. He's considered premature. He was born at 36 weeks.
Okay.
Came out perfect.
Okay.
Absolutely perfect. But the birth itself
Despite everything against him,
Yep.
he still made it.
The birth was traumatic. I had that's something we could talk about another time, but that was, I was put through things that no woman should be put through.
Well,
And
like what?
Birth trauma.
In what way?
Unconsented procedures.
Yeah.
I did actually go for legal through it, but I got screwed over by the legal system and the police. I tried to have the doctor charged for assault. And
what did you do? Did you cut the waters or before?
He cut me without my consent for an episiotomy.
Oh.
He butchered me when he stitched me back up. So the husband stitch. It actually meets the definition of female genital mutilation.
Oh my God.
So then I had a pelvic prolapse afterwards. So, and then I had problems with the epidural, which has left me with spinal problems today. And then I had to watch them. They gave my baby a vitamin K and a Hep B vaccine against my consent.
No way.
And after that, he got jaundice, and he wasn't born with jaundice.
Yeah.
And we nearly lost him after that. And
so he got it really badly.
He got very sick. They wouldn't let us leave hospital for a few days.
Yeah.
And then when we did leave hospital, we had a nurse that came around. They call it a community care nurse.
Yeah.
It's like a midwife. They come around the house. They check on you. At that point, we were starting to go into the lockdown mode.
Yeah.
They were starting to talk about lockdowns and all that. And I'm like, we're in a big country town. It's not going to happen here.
Yeah.
You know, I thought WA is a big place.
Yeah.
But they did. They did it. And
but even though it's lockdown, so you've got the lockdowns going like crazy, you've had these issues with birth, but at the same time too, here you are as a family and you finally...
Yeah, we finally got there.
You have a baby.
Yeah, we were over the moon.
And was this naturally conceived or IVF?
Natural.
So you got a naturally conceived, you got a gift from God.
We just had a little bit of an assistance with the progesterone.
Yeah, but you've just basically got a gift from God.
Yep.
And I think you said before that you were renting then.
We were renting, yes.
And so you both you were thinking, we've got a baby, now you just want the Australian dream. Your own house and a family.
Yeah.
And so you're working in the mines.
Yep.
And so you decided to go back to the mines to basically earn the money.
Well, I was trying to go back to, because I didn't want to do FIFO because being a new mum.
Yeah.
I was planning to put Bub in childcare and then go into transport and logistics because I've worked in that as well.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, I could just go and be a courier around town, you know, for a few hours every day.
Yeah.
And
for the mining industry.
Yeah.
But then you had the problem that the mining industry had mandates.
Yes. And so 7 interviews I went for. Every single interview, you'd get about maybe halfway, 3/4 through the interview. There was one of them that was right at the very end of the interview. They would ask, have you had the vaccines? Are you planning on getting the vaccines? And at that point, I was very skeptical of the vaccines. I thought they were rushed. I didn't trust it. And I thought, you know, I've had all my other jabs. You know, I'm not an anti-vax, so
and were
I
you
am
having
now.
this discussion with your partner?
Yeah, we did.
And what was his thoughts on it?
Well, his thoughts was he was the sole breadwinner. He was the sole breadwinner.
Yeah, and he's got a family to provide for.
Yeah.
He wants to buy a house for them at some point, so he has to work.
So I kept going for interviews. I kept getting knocked back, and he went and had his jabs. He was fine.
Yeah.
He had 2 and he was perfectly fine. And I thought, okay, it's not that bad.
Yeah. There's lots of people who've had it haven't been in.
And so, yeah, we know lots. We know lots.
Yeah.
And they've not had any reaction, not even a headache, not even a sore arm. You know, they just, And then
so
I
that
thought,
gave you
okay,
confidence to take it yourself.
thought, all right, I'll go and take it. And So yeah, and then when I'm like at that point, I was still like prior to that point, I'd gone through postnatal depression. I'd been in a psychiatric ward trying to get better.
Mm.
I'd dealt with
What did the
government departments and
what did
stuff.
the depression come from? What do you think triggered it?
The birth trauma.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
when I was going through the lawyers, it triggered everything. It was like reliving it. And I kept the nightmares. So I just kept reliving what happened in that birth suite day after day after day.
Wow.
But it also triggered past trauma. So it's very complex, like work-related trauma, personal life trauma, because I've been through domestic violence as well. So I was a mess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I said to my hubby, let's put Bub with the grandparents and I'll go get help, because
Okay.
that was what I would do.
Yeah.
So we made a plan and we did that. But when you go get help, it doesn't matter what you think you're doing right. There's always people in the system that will work against you. And there's nothing worse than trying to go get help for postnatal and then having someone in that system that's supposed to help you report you to child services for child neglect
But you
when
didn't
I
have the
wasn't
child.
neglecting my child.
Your child was with the grandparents.
hmm So that was a big
What
shift, right?
were they basing the neglect on?
Because I was basically unfit to look after my child, being mentally ill.
But your grandparents were looking after the child.
Yep.
And that didn't count.
So we had it all thrown out.
Wow.
We had it thrown out.
Okay.
They even come to the house, they checked the house, they rang the grandparents, and we basically told them a big F you. If you do it again, I'll take you to court.
Mm.
And then I found out it was someone in the ward, one of the nurses in the ward, that made the call.
Okay.
There was a lot of stuff that happened in that ward that'll be an interview for another day, but what I know of what goes in that psychiatric system, no one should be subjected to. Basically, they fill you up full of drugs and then send you on your way. And then most of the people end up, it's like a cycle, rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
But for me, that was the last straw. Was determined I was never, ever going to go back in there, because I've been in a few times for help for past traumas like car accidents, workplace relations, things like that. And when I saw how that system was working against me, it's gone worse since then, but I decided not to trust it anymore. And that was the last time I didn't have much to do with psychologists and all the rest of it. After that, I've tried to just manage things on my own. And my husband and I, we worked out a plan that if I was not mentally coping, we would sit and he would take a couple of days off work and we would just talk about it.
Mm.
And the grandparents have been really, really supportive. They take our little boy and give me, I have breaks quite often. And when I've been sick with the vax injury, they've been there too. They've been really, really wonderful.
So which the vaccine injured you? Was it the first?
So it's the
second?
Pfizer.
Yeah.
So if we bring it up to 2021, so when I was going for these job interviews, I thought, okay, nothing happened to my husband. All right, I'll go and have the first one. And I went to the Claremont Super Hub, the mass vax clinic that the government set up.
Yep, sure.
Now, coming from a farming background, it was like sheep going into a slaughterhouse.
To get drenched.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But because I was mentally wrecked, I couldn't see what was going on. I probably should have seen the flags that other people have seen, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I believe what was happening on the TV, because at that point I was still watching the mainstream bullshit.
Well, why wouldn't we believe these people? I mean, who would think that they would have any other purpose than just to make us safe or healthy? I mean, they're protecting us. They're our leaders. They're working in our favor. That was the belief system.
Yeah.
So it's quite obvious that most people would trust them.
Yeah, so I believed it. And when I was there, basically you just got asked for your Medicare card. There was no asking of your history, your medical history. There was
Any informed consent?
no.
So it was just like sheep drenching. Jab, next one.
Medicare card, tick, flick. Yep, there's your appointment. Okay, you've presented. Then make sure your details are correct.
I'll tell you an interesting story. When we were in Melbourne, because I was in a lot of the big protests there, early on, tradies, nurses, doctors, and others were coming down and offering the homeless people $500 to take the jab. So it'd be $250. They'd take their Medicare card, which no picture on it, and these people would go down to the jab centre,
wow,
get jabbed, come back. Once they'd shown that it had been jabbed, then the person would give them $250, and they get $500.
It's coercive.
And I've interviewed another guy. He actually had lots of junkies doing it. Drug addicts were actually taking jabs for lots of people. So there's drug addicts out there that have taken up to 18, 19, 20 or more of these jabs. And a lot of them are still going. So it's really an interesting, I don't know what it is. So it's just a crazy time. These are actual true things that we captured. Take from them what you want. But this was, and that was all because it was just a Medicare card. Yep. You didn't have to have a picture on there.
Yeah, just had a Medicare card.
Yeah. Yep. So how'd you go with the first one?
Well, they basically, after that, you sit on a heap of chairs.
Yeah.
And then they call row by row. And each row just walks down these little stalls, and they're like cubicles set up in this massive big shed.
Yeah.
It was like a pavilion shed.
Yeah.
And each nurse, they just had a form. They'd ask you, you know, are you here willingly, blah, 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 blah. And then they'd do the jab, pick a shoulder, jab it in. And then they go, all right, now go down the back and sit for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But there was, the first time I was there was a nurse there. And there was one nurse, and there was about 40 odd people in that room.
Oh my Lord.
And I thought, wow, you know, the ratio is really off the charts here.
Yeah.
And then you just walk out the door and head back to the car park.
Yeah.
And when I was going back to the car park, I was pretty dizzy. I thought, oh, you know, it was a warm day.
Yeah.
And because we're still in, you know, it's still warmish, like probably 23, 24 degrees. And I sat in the car and I thought, oh, yeah, I feel a bit off. And then I started getting like a blood nose. And I thought, oh, this hasn't happened before. And I thought maybe I'm just dehydrated. And so then, you know, just water, tissue, mop it up, went home. By the time I drove from Claremont all the way back to my home up near Kalamunda, I was struggling.
In what way? Just to concentrate?
Was like, yeah, couldn't concentrate, felt sleepy. And I said to my husband, oh, I had the first jab, I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
I went to bed for 3 days.
Oh my Lord.
And got wiped out.
Wow.
It's like this wave of tiredness just comes over
just
you.
Fatigue.
And my arm was throbbing like hell. Hubby didn't even have a sore arm.
But did you just put down this is just a natural reaction?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I felt the same. I had the whooping cough vaccine when I was in hospital with Barb. Like in the last trimester, they tell you to have the whooping cough vaccine.
So you had the vaccine while you were pregnant? Wow.
Because otherwise they refuse care in the hospital.
What?
They refuse you antenatal care.
So they
coerce you.
They vaccinate a pregnant woman.
Yeah, they do.
So if you've got a baby, most mothers don't eat cheese, they don't drink wine.
Yeah.
They don't.
You can't have processed meats.
Yeah. Fish,
raw eggs,
all these things they don't do.
But no, you can have a jab.
But you can have a jab.
Yeah, and the jab doesn't even protect the baby anyway. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And if you don't do it, you got no care.
Yep.
Wow.
So I got the same symptoms. I got like just run down, really tired.
Yeah.
And of course, when I had the jabs, I was like, when I was pregnant, I thought I just put it down to pregnancy.
Yeah.
Tired, worn out. But this one was like next level.
Yeah.
It was like stupidly tired. I slept. And And I think there was one point I slept for like 18 hours straight. And my husband was like,
My
you've
Lord.
never done that before.
Yeah, who has?
And I said to him, I feel like I'm coming down with a cold. And I had like a bit of not a full-blown fever, but it was elevated.
Yeah.
And then after that, about 3 days, it just went away and it was back to normal. And then a couple of weeks later, I had the second jab.
Yeah.
Same thing happened. And when I was sitting in that 15-minute waiting...
Were you concerned about taking the second jab because your reaction to the first?
I was.
But you still want to get the Australian dream and you're not going to get it with one jab.
I still wanted my job.
You want his job.
Yeah.
Family.
I've always been a worker.
I know, but the goal is the Australian dream. Owning a home.
We wanted to get our own home.
So.
Because we were newly married too.
So you're taking the second jab. So what happened with the second jab?
So the same thing, wiped out for 3 days, blood nose, the whole lot. That time I did get the fever. It was really bad. It was up to 40.1.
Wow.
And I felt worse. It was like I'd been hit by a truck. My whole body was just like on fire. And then the heart rate started palpitating really hard. And I thought, it's probably just anxiety, probably just stress, just try and breathe through it. But it kept getting worse. And I said to my husband, I think we need to go to the hospital. I didn't even get to here to call an ambulance.
Oh my Lord.
And because I collapsed on the floor. And then we went to the hospital. About a couple of hours in the hospital, everything was fine. All the results come back fine. All the scans come back fine.
Anxiety.
Oh, you've just got anxiety.
Yeah.
With a script for Valium and then send me home.
A lot of times. Yeah, it's anxiety. Okay.
And I thought, yeah, of course they're going to say that because it's on my mental health record.
No, they said it to everyone. It doesn't matter.
So, but then I'm finding people without a mental health record are getting this too. I've spoken to a number of people.
Yeah.
We all got told the same thing. It was like a script.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I interviewed a 21-year-old girl here. She had a heart attack in hospital, and they told her it was anxiety. And since everyone suffers from anxiety, none of us should be alive.
They say it's a panic attack, which is anxiety.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, no, I've had anxiety since I was 15. I know the difference between a panic attack and heart attack symptoms.
Yeah.
And given I've been a volunteer for St. John's Ambulance, I definitely know the bloody difference.
Yeah.
I had the pain in the shoulder. This arm went completely numb.
Yeah.
My fingertips were like all pins and needles.
Yeah.
Struggling to breathe. And a pulse rate at the time was about 220 beats a minute. It was high.
Wow.
Blood pressure was through the roof.
Yeah.
I was struggling to stay awake. I kept feeling like I was going to pass out.
Yeah.
To this day, those symptoms still happen.
Okay.
It's almost like an attack and it comes and goes.
Yeah.
And I just deal with it now. 27 hospital visits later.
27 hospitals. So you're still having this right today?
Still having it.
And how often does it come? Like 6 weeks, a week?
Every couple of days.
Every couple of days you feel like you're having a heart attack?
Yeah.
And so do you still go to hospital or just...
I don't even call an ambulance anymore. We've wasted that much. We've wasted nearly $13,000 on ambulances. Because at one point we didn't have private health. We couldn't afford to keep the private health. And when you call an ambulance, it's $1,000. There was one point I went to an urgent care clinic. That urgent care clinic was 200 metres across the road from a hospital, and they called an ambulance because they couldn't deal with me. They called an ambulance and I got a $1,000 bill just to go across the bloody road to the hospital.
Wow, so you're taking
what
the government wants you to take.
They kicked me out of the hospital.
So you're taking what the government wants you to take. You're being injured, and then they're just, wow.
Yeah. And so I'm stuck with that anxiety diagnosis.
So you're trying to get the Australian dream, and all these things keep going back. You're getting more in debt.
And then the funny thing was, Michael, like when you went in, PCR test up the nose. No, we're not going to treat you until you have that thing jammed up your bloody nose.
Yeah.
Well, when they did one, they actually caused bleeding. And I refused. I flat out refused. So you come near me with that, I'm going to stick it up your ass. I got pissed off.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I actually threatened to throttle a nurse, and I've never been like that.
Yeah.
because
So that probably puts you in not a good place with the
not a good
hospital.
place. No, the trust level was not there.
Yeah.
And so when, like, your PCR, yep, okay, it'll come back negative.
Yeah.
All right. But now we'll still, there was, when I first went in, you know what they went and did? I tested negative for their damn PCR while I was in a short stay area, but they still stuck me in a room full of COVID positive patients.
I'm only laughing because of it's mental.
Their mentality and their protocols were all up to shit. There was no decompression and deep clean or sanitizing going from one room to the other. There was no, like, they just walked through a screen divider. And I'm like, hang on, we're all supposed to be positive. There was 6 of us in this one room. We're all supposed to be positive. You've just slapped me in with these guys. And I'm like, he's trying to deliberately infect me? Like, when I've come in. And at that point, that's when I realised something was off.
Yeah.
I realised the PPE was off, the masks. You don't wear those masks for a virus.
Yeah, no. Well, it has on the box, not suitable for COVID-19. It actually says that.
I've worked in the mines. We use some pretty good gear for chemicals and stuff like that. And I mean, they're using that for surgical masks. And then I was watching them go through patient to patient, and they weren't desanitizing or de-PPEing, going from patient to patient.
So this is about the period where your trust in the government was starting to wane.
Hospital system mostly.
Yeah.
And then, the stuff I saw in there was just the way they were treating patients.
In what way?
They were very mean.
Really?
No compassion, no empathy, especially the elderly people.
Wow.
There was one elderly person there. I suspect they may have had something like intellectually wrong with them.
Yeah.
Like maybe autism or something like that. They weren't quite the full quid.
Yeah.
But there was no need for them to have that person restrained because they didn't want to be there. And they were taken in because of a little cough.
Yeah.
And they had that person strapped to a bed.
Holy crap.
There was another guy that came in that was positive beside me, and he was a footballer. I won't say for what team because he was still in his jersey. And he had just had the jabs and tested positive, and he was laid up beside me. And he was also ramped in the ambulance with me as well. He was in the ambulance beside me, and he'd collapsed on an oval, and they brought him in. And he was young, very young. When I was in hospital, I noticed the majority of cardiac people in the critical care units where I was taken a lot of the time, because of when you're priority 1 with cardiac issues, they put you into the critical area.
Yeah.
And the majority of people were all young.
Yeah,
they were all under 50. And I saw so many that were school age.
Yeah.
I saw little kids. And those kids weren't even eligible to be jabbed yet, and they were getting jabbed. And you could see the symptoms. Like, I was looking at, I could overhear the conversations because you're all lined up in beds. And basically they've just got a little divider curtain between you, and you could hear the conversations. And I know it's eavesdropping, but
yeah, it's still
some of the stuff I saw in the hospitals.
So what were you hearing? Just like the same thing? I've got
the
heart
same
issues?
thing. It's nothing. You're just stressed. You're overworked. You're tired. You're just anxious. You need to calm down. You need a psychologist.
So they've got a room full of heart-injured people.
Yeah.
And that's what they're saying.
We were all getting the same thing.
Yeah, listen, we've done this with other interviews where people have got several people saying the same thing. They're treated like it's nothing.
Yep.
It's bizarre, isn't it?
There was one person that came in. I was ramped for 6 hours at one hospital, and there was one person coming in actively having a seizure on the cart, and they were all laughing about it. The medical staff were laughing about it, going, "Oh, another one acting the fool." And that's how they were treating people. This is our medical establishment. I'm disgusted by it.
My God.
They think people that have got these conditions are putting it on. And
As
then
you-
they
as
blow
you-
you off.
That's what you do, because I'm going to spend $1,000 on an ambulance
Mm.
and I'm just going to perform for what?
Yep.
Why would I do that?
So during that time, Michael, like I had a lot of visits, like from that second vaccine, it was almost every 2 weeks we were calling an ambulance
My God.
because the heart would just ramp up.
Yeah.
And of course, they tell you when you get those symptoms, call an ambulance.
That's what they
Don't
say.
wait, call an ambulance. You call an ambulance, an hour later, you're kicked out of the hospital with the
Yeah.
same diagnosis. You've got anxiety. You really need to go to a psychologist,
Mm.
you know. And then it comes to the point where 2 months later, my period stopped. And my husband and I, we were going to try for a second child at that point. We were like, all right, can't get a job. We'll just try for a second child. We'll have them back to back. Sounds crazy, I know.
No,
but we just
I did
wanted,
that.
we
And
just
my
wanted two kids.
My two kids are the same. We thought they'd be friends for life because they're so close. So I did that. Of course you do that.
Yeah, we just wanted 2 kids. That's all
Yeah,
we
I know. I
wanted.
love it.
We didn't want any more than that.
Yeah.
We're lucky to get our one.
Yeah.
Um,
But your period stopped. Is that like an
Stopped.
early menopause or something?
It was premature ovarian failure, is what it was diagnosed as.
Premature ovarian failure.
Yeah,
Never heard of that before.
basically my body just said, nope, that's it, you're done.
So it is like an early menopause.
Yeah.
Which I've heard.
Perimenopause, yeah.
Perimenopause, I've heard. And how old are you?
I am 42, but I was 38 at the time, or
38.
36 at the time, yeah.
36.
So,
which is.
yeah, count by 5 years.
So suddenly,
Yeah.
basically, you're infertile.
So I was infertile. Yep.
How'd you take that news?
I didn't take it very well at first.
Yeah, I bet.
So we did a lot of testing.
Yeah.
I went to the doctor and I told my doctor, I'm like clockwork. Ever since I had bub, my cycle went back to normal.
Yeah.
I was like clockwork. You could count it by the time of the day
Yeah.
it was going to happen because I wasn't on any contraception, nothing like that.
Yeah.
And even after losing all that weight, my periods still come back to a normal cycle.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the moon.
Yeah,
You know, every full moon, boom, it's game on.
Yeah.
But when it suddenly stopped, I thought maybe it's stress, maybe it's because I've been sick, maybe it's all this combination of things happening. I went to the doctors and like, can you just run me a hormone panel? And she did, and it come back, and we were just like, oh, that's not good. And she goes, I'm going to do your AMH level, which is your anti-Müllerian hormone. That's the one that tests your eggs, how many eggs supply you've got, ovarian reserve. And it had dropped from the previous time we did it with bub. It had dropped to non-existent.
Wow.
And it was like they gave me like a 10% chance. And then she goes, I'm going to refer you back to the fertility specialist. The fertility specialist did a whole heap of testing, and that's when they saw it, and they were like, it's not happening anymore.
Did they tell you why? Did they link it with the jab or anything else?
They didn't link it with the jab.
No.
But they did ask me if I'd had the jabs.
Yeah.
And I think they knew.
They knew.
I think they knew.
Please tell me they didn't tell you it was anxiety.
No.
Oh, thank God.
But they didn't tell me it wasn't the jabs either.
Yeah, I get it.
But the fact that they asked if I'd had the jabs,
you could
they
hear in
must
the tone.
have known.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of young people in that waiting room that day.
Yeah.
And they were all the same age as me. Some of them had been in there previous times.
Yeah, we've heard lots of stories. I think it's 24% now of our females. We don't know about the males, but the females are infertile.
Well, as you'll know, Michael, I shared a post like a couple of years back that the West Australian birth rate has dramatically dropped. We're now in a big decline, and it's looking really bad.
Yeah.
But our government's covering it up. So when I got hit with that news, I came home and I told my husband, and that was a sledgehammer. It got worse from there.
So he must have been devastated.
Yeah.
But at least you had one child.
We had the one, so we were happy with that.
So you still wanted the house, so you still
Yeah.
You're trying to get there.
So I just said to him, fuck it. I'm going to do what I do with all other stressful shit. I'm going back to work. I throw
But you'd
whenever
only
something
had 2
stressful
jabs. Were
happens.
they going to force you to get a third?
Yeah, I was sort of, when they, so we had the mandates for I think they call it the booster, the third one, that came in around, because we were still in and out of we were in lockdown for a very long time. We had no COVID here, really.
No.
And then it was, I'd been seeing, like, I think it was about when we mandated, sometime around the end of the year. We had to be 95 or 90 something % vaccinated for them to lift the lockdown.
Yeah.
And we weren't at that point. And later on, as things got worse, I was going for a surgery, and they wanted me to be triple vax to have that surgery.
What was the surgery for?
For a laparoscopic investigation.
Okay. So you had to have so you've been sick, you've been this,
Yeah.
and then the state, instead of going, oh, well, these are affecting you, she can't have any more, instead they're going, no, you got to have this one.
And then, because I also was I had another job interview, and they're like, no, they've been mandated to have a third. You've got to have the third, otherwise we won't employ you.
How did you feel when you went in for the third?
Like shit.
When you were
I did not want it. I
chose. Did the nurse ask you, are you here voluntarily?
So I went to a pharmacist for the third.
Yeah.
And my GP knew about my reaction.
Yeah.
My GP at the time knew about my reaction to the vaccine. She didn't report it. And she just said, oh, it's just mild, it's nothing to be concerned about. Blew it off.
Yeah.
But then when I saw her about getting an exemption, she said they had a bloody thing on the window that said no exemptions.
Yeah. Because they'd be deregistered.
And I actually got a photo of it.
Yeah.
Got a photo of it on the clinic window.
Oh,
they're not my doctors from now on.
We should send that through. We'll post it in here, because but the doctors themselves would be suspended. The amount of doctors I've interviewed, from Nixon to Hobart to Borchos to all these others that gave exceptions, they're all suspended. They still haven't lost their job.
And I think Dr. Hobart's going to court again next week.
Yeah, that's right. So can I ask, when you had that done, when you went in for the third one, surely your anxiety must have been through the roof.
So my GP said to me, look, you really need to have the third, otherwise you're not going to be able to participate in society, was her words.
Wow.
And I saw red at that. And I'm like, well, I'm not having another damn Pfizer, and I'm not having AstraZeneca, because I'd already heard about the blood clotting with AstraZeneca at that point. And
so you're mandated to take something that there's a very good chance that it could injure you or even kill you.
Yeah, my last option was the Novavax. And I said, bugger it, I'm going to hold out until the Novavax comes out. And I thought, okay, it's a protein vaccine. It's probably the old school stuff. Yeah. Little did I know what it was really about, because I'm not a scientist. And I held out for that one, and unfortunately things got worse.
So what happened after you took that one?
Well, before I took that one, it was about June, August, September, October. It was October after the Pfizer. I started having gastro issues, and it was liver dysfunction. So my liver would go deranged. My spleen was enlarged. My liver was enlarged. At that point, that's when they found I had pericarditis. That was reported to the TGA. It took 11 months for the health department here in WA to send me a letter saying you're not going to have any more mRNA vaccines. But by that point, by the time I got that letter, I'd already just had the Novavax and had a reaction to that.
So what was your reaction to that?
Seizures.
Seizures?
Yeah.
Have you ever had seizures before?
Never. Seizures.
And how often were the seizures, and to what extent?
I had a grand mal seizure for 25 minutes. I don't really remember a hell of a lot of it.
No, you don't remember the seizures, yeah.
I remember being in an ambulance and getting carted off, and
You're back in another ambulance.
Yeah.
Another $1,000.
I couldn't move properly, couldn't walk properly. I was trying to talk, but my speech was coming out slurred.
Yeah.
And I said to my hubby, like, I kept saying like stroke, like that.
Yeah.
And he followed me to the hospital, but by then he had bub as well. And the hospital wouldn't let him in because of all the COVID bullshit. And so he come back home, and in that time I was in there, I had EEG done, I had like MRIs, CAT scans, you name it, I had it all done. You've got FND.
What's that?
Functional neurological disorder. It's a bullshit diagnosis. It's basically, we don't know what your problems are, but we're just going to label you with this, and I'm now stuck with that label. I've tried to say
say it again.
functional neurological disorder. So basically, it's a problem with the nervous system, but they put it down to being psychological.
So anxiety.
Anxiety.
So it's the upgraded version of anxiety.
And they think that my
you're having
mental illness has triggered it off.
Okay, so you're having fits and spending all this money on
I had a fall
ambulances.
While I was in hospital. The nurses laughed at me.
Wow.
And the treatment I got in hospital was horrific.
Really?
Like, they just don't care. They think it's funny. There was one point where I was like, I was in there for a couple of days, and my legs just started twitching on their own. My arms would twitch.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Fingers still twitch now and then sometimes. If I overwork, like at the moment we're renovating our own home, and if I overwork myself, the tremors start again, and then I can't. It's like everything just seizes up.
Mm.
And then there's the whole body pain. Like it's like you're on fire. Like your muscles are burning, and peripheral neuropathy, I think they called it. And then they've been labeled chronic fatigue as well. And like your muscles are just like, it's like when you've gone for a very long run and everything hurts. Well, that's what it's like daily now. And no amount of medication is making it better. Some medications, even these protocols, detox protocols, some of them have made it worse.
Okay.
And so the one thing I found that calms it, well, there's actually three things, is magnesium, glutathione, and valerian root.
Okay.
And those three things have kept everything at a manageable level.
So you're still having seizures, or they've stopped?
I had a seizure a couple of weeks ago for a couple of minutes. It's like hubby notices my eyes just go a bit weird and then just not focused, and then all of a sudden I'm out, and it's like I just have a black spot, can't remember what's happened, wake up, dazed, confused.
So you switch between that and fatigue and heart issues.
Yeah. And then there's the immunological.
Do you feel like your body has something in it that's, causing all this? Like, whether it's a spike protein or whatever it is. Yeah, poison.
Yeah.
Do you feel poisoned?
Yep. That's how I call it now. I've been poisoned by my own government. It's the harshest term you can be, but it is the truth.
The other thing too, and I don't mean to upset you about this, but it has to be said, I'm of the mob that didn't take it. And early on in COVID, we got put as the lowest rung of society.
We were like the lepers.
We were the anti-vaxxers, eventually cookers, whatever, but we were the lowest rung. But then there was another rung added, and those were the ones who were vax-injured.
Yeah.
And you became the untouchables. Don't talk about them.
We're kind of like the ones they want to brush under the carpet.
Yeah.
Because the more of us, and I've spoken to a lot of vax-injured about this.
Yeah.
They can't shut us all up.
No, but they want to. They just want to. Do you think this is why ABC are now doing sort of softly interviews with vaccine injured people?
It's
almost
a drip scenario.
Yeah, almost to let off a pressure valve.
Feeding.
Yeah, because they don't want to deal with how many there are actually out there.
And all the mainstream media were complicit in this.
I know.
Like, you've got people like Karl Stefanovic. He pushed it.
I know.
He went and got it too.
I know. Karl
Sanderland wrote a bloody song about it.
Yeah.
I laughed shit about that.
Yeah.
But then I thought, you people were all complicit.
Yeah. We've also heard...
I was complicit because I went and got the damn thing. But I was trying to provide for my family.
Who was the other one? Who was the other one with Channel 9? Told everyone about Christmas. Koshi.
Koshi.
Yeah. And we heard now that
Channel
Koshi.
7 he was, yeah.
Yeah, Channel 7, Koshi was pushing it a lot.
Yeah. And now how many of them are dropping dead?
Well, I don't know. We have heard rumours from people who've seen Koshi says he looks terrible, like there's something wrong. But we can't speculate because we don't have evidence. We just, you know, it's all suppressed and hidden.
Yeah.
There was a 78-page report came out about batch numbers. All of it blacked out.
Yep.
Every single page.
They didn't black some out though.
No, they blocked it. They left some batch numbers left.
Batch and drug substance numbers.
And we have researchers, Sarah and Cousins and other researchers that go, those batch numbers are well known as killers.
I built a database on them.
Oh, you did? Yeah.
Because I was tracking my own batches because I wanted to see how many people got the same batch I did. And just through social media alone, I found 47 people that all went to the same Claremont clinic, all had Pfizer, and we've all got heart problems. 4 of those people are now dead. And there was 16 of us women are all infertile. And that's just through my own research and networking. We've all built a little bit of a support group. It's we're basically watching each other die off. I've got family in Cal, they're extended family through marriage. I've just been told by, there's 9 of them now, all see the same doctor, all got jabbed at the same clinic by the same doctor, all got the same batch, all now have leukemia and there is no family history of leukemia. And they are a big family. But they're in a mining community, so we know it's going to get put down to mining, not jabs. And I've asked them to go and get their blood tested. I've told them to go and get tissue samples done. But we're fighting against a machine that's got a lot more money than us. We know we're not going to win. But when you're watching everybody around you that took this crap is slowly dying.
Yep.
Like me and my husband have set up our house and everything, and we're doing it so that, because our boy's not jabbed, I refuse to get him jabbed anymore.
Can I ask, with your husband now, are you preparing also for the possibility that they might lose you?
We've done our wills. I've put my end of life planning in place. He's got an envelope, and if I go, it's all planned out. I shouldn't have to do that at my age.
All you were trying to do was reach the Australian dream.
Yeah. All I want to do is get a house, marriage, the white picket fence. Yeah. And now it's just, I've just finished paying $73,000 worth of hospital bills or medical bills related to this.
$73,000 worth.
Yeah.
That's not covered by Medicare.
Couldn't even get the vaccine compensation scheme. That thing was a scam. The lawyers and the doctors told me it was so complex. It was set up to make people fail.
They all give up.
When I rang the scheme, they told me it was only $10,000 for a pericarditis payout. That doesn't include the ongoing medical bills.
Doesn't include the medical bills.
Because now, when I had the Novavax vaccine, it went from pericarditis to pericardial effusion as well. And now AF, now heart failure. Then the neurological issues, I've now got immune dysfunction. So my immune system's completely shot. I've got a mast cell activation syndrome that I never had before.
What is that?
It's basically allergies. So now I start becoming allergic to everything. Like the boy in the bubble, but not quite to that extent. But basically I have anaphylaxis to a lot of things I never used to have. I found out I've got I call it the motherfucker gene. It's an MTHFR mutation, and I can't detox because that methyl folate Like it basically controls your body's natural ability to detox. So now I know why all the detox protocols aren't working. And I've had you might know Dr. Mark Loss. He said that we were all going to have immune problems, and he was right. He's seen my records. I did an interview with him a while back, and he was dead right. We've all basically got the equivalent of AIDS. And my husband, he's okay. For some reason, he had different batches. He's fine. I know other people that have had different batches. They're fine. To look at them, you don't see them prematurely aging. They look like normal working people. He doesn't have any heart issues when he overworks himself. But when I've spoken to other people like me, we're stuffed. We can't work to full capacity. Even if I wanted to go back to work now, I can't pass a damn medical because of my heart and also the neuro stuff that's going on. Like now I've got to wear glasses to drive. I never used to have to wear glasses. Like the last seizure I had, I lost my eyesight, like my peripheral vision. It's just black here. Can't see anything. The doctors couldn't tell me why. And when we tried to go and see a neurologist, we tried to get a referral. It got knocked back from Western Australia's top neurologist here because I'd already had that FND diagnosis through the system. They didn't want to see me because it was a waste of their time. And I've got those letters. I had 3 referrals for a cardiac imaging and a loop monitor during those periods where I was in and out of hospital for heart issues. Somehow, Royal Perth Hospital lost all 3 referrals. Then there was the fact that I started bleeding, hemorrhaging vaginally, and my gynecologist, I had a very good gynecologist. I praise him for probably saving my life. We couldn't work out why I was bleeding so much. We went on all these medications trying to stop it, and we couldn't stop it. We slowed it down, but I was still bleeding to the point where I was having iron infusions, and then the iron infusions weren't enough, so then it was going to become a blood transfusion. And then we decided, because I couldn't have any more kids, we opted for the last route, which was a hysterectomy. And that was bloody hard. I've not recovered since then properly. We found a lot of things in there that weren't there before on scans. We've got tissue samples in storage. I want to get them sent overseas for someone to analyse.
Because they won't do the tests here.
They won't do it. Anyone affiliated with the government here won't do it. Won't be done.
Yeah, I know.
But they're in storage. But yeah, when he tried. He even admitted he'd seen so much of it with young women.
The gynecologist.
He even asked me if I'd had a HPV vax. So obviously they're seeing stuff with the HPV vax. They're not saying to people. And I've never had that one. Never. But yeah, and then since then, it's just one thing after another. You just can't. You have days where you think you're getting better. You think, okay, all right, I'm going to get out and do some gardening this week. And then you might do a couple of hours, and then you're laid up for 2 days. And all I want to do is I just want to go back to work. I just want to work a normal job. I want to provide for my family. Obviously, my boy, he's now 6. I wanted to homeschool, and I can't do that because I can't function properly. So I ended up biting the bullet, and I put him into school. which has been good for him because he's made some friends and we've got a good community where we live. They're very tight-knit. The teachers were very understanding when I told them that he'd had a vax injury. So, but like, even just doing things around the house, it's difficult. Like trying to paint walls, I can only stand for so long. And then my legs just want to give out. Can only walk so much, can only lift so much.
Yeah.
Even just physical exercise, just walking my boy 10 minutes to school, my heart rate goes sky high and I've got to sit for 10 or 20 minutes before I turn around and walk back home. Whereas before I used to jog 5Ks every bloody day. I used to be fit, and that fitness has been taken away. Like the whole of my health and other people's health, it's all been taken away from us. And we've just got kicked in the guts over and over.
Do you think
it's people like you, like yourself and Max Freedom, and there's a number of people in our community. It's people like you guys that have had my back and other vax injured's back, whereas we've been ghosted by our own families, long-time friends, people we went to school with. Other members of the community are treating us like lepers. They're calling us names. They can call me an anti-vaxxer all they bloody like, but I am. I will never have another one.
Yeah, same.
Never. I will never vax my kid ever again.
I won't do it on principle now.
I want to see their whole vaccine schedule destroyed, and that is my aim. I want it destroyed. Because this is killing people. It's basically what they've done to me and other women. It's involuntary sterilisation. And where are all the lawyers? They're very quiet.
Civil rights lawyers, all these.
The human rights lawyers?
Yeah, done nothing.
I now believe they were all complicit.
So you feel truly robbed of that as a woman?
Yep. My health, my fertility, my work life. It's affected our marriage. It's put a lot of strain on our marriage because my husband's basically watching his wife slowly die.
A lot of people say that COVID is over. What are you still talking about? It's over. It's clearly not over for you. What do you feel like when people say that, or even the government just still says vaccines are safe and effective?
I laugh at it. I have to laugh at it because it's the only way I can deal with it.
If they suddenly turned around and now, our Prime Minister suddenly gave acknowledgement, like, okay, we had a pandemic, we thought it was bad, we had to do this vaccine, and yes, these people have been injured, like we're seeing ABC and Current Affair doing things. Would that bring you any solace?
No. The damage is done.
What would you like to happen now? Do you want to see court cases? And
I'm part of the class action.
Yeah.
But I don't have hope for it. I think it's the fact that the government were trying to get it, what's the word for it? Discontinued, I guess. I don't have hoping in any case with government. The manufacturers have got liability in this country.
Because we just saw a chemist in Bassendean, I took a photo of it, and it said COVID vaccines free.
That makes me angry. I want to kick over those signs every time I bloody see them.
The kids, bring in your kids.
Yeah.
And that's happening now.
Yep.
And it's happening now because you guys are ignored.
One of my friends does the Forest of the Fallen, and I was talking to Matt Jordan, who did the Jab Injuries Australia.
Yeah.
And some of the people I've spoken to, that they walk through the Forest of the Fallen, and you can see there's some with empathy and there's others that are like, oh, it's all lies. No, there are some of us I'm not going to say that all the Forest of the Fallens are all, it's all Because I know there are some that were doing fake stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm real. I've got documents. I've got 3 files of documents to prove it. I've got proof of medical fraud where they were manufacturing diagnoses, where they were reusing old bloody scans and then putting a new date on them. You know, I found out one of my doctors at St John of God Midland Hospital, who gave me 2 false diagnoses, was actually involved in a Novavax clinical trial. And he was one that was involved in gaslighting me, you know. And then to fight to get your own medical records, like the FOIs I have had to jump through to get my own medical records, and then they redact the shit out of it when it's your information.
It's your records.
You know, like there was like it took me about 6 months just to get records from one hospital. And then when I got it back, there were pages missing. And it was lucky that I keep all my discharge summaries, like every single hospital visit, every ambulance, I've kept all the paperwork.
You must have a lot now.
I've got
Must
3
be like
files.
White pages.
3 files.
Wow.
But what I did was decided to do something I'd never done before, and I got, from the date this happened, from June 2021, I got all my pathology records and I put them all into a spreadsheet. So all your blood tests.
Yeah.
And I saw a pattern of decline through those blood tests. And I printed off that spreadsheet and I put it onto a USB and I took it to every single one of my specialists and I showed them. And the looks on their faces, they couldn't bloody deny it anymore. It took 7 cardiologists for the last one to finally admit that, yes, the jabs were doing damage. And he's put me in the too hard basket because the medication he's given me is not working. Sometimes it makes it worse. For the AFib, it's supposed to slow my heart rate down, but it actually drops it too far. And then there's other ones where they put me on and it's just, it upsets my liver. So then my liver goes deranged, then everything goes out. And it's like a flow-on effect. Like one thing they try to treat, they're trying symptom management. And so one thing they're trying to treat with one thing is affecting another, and I can't win. So in the end, I've thrown out all the prescriptions. I'm managing with herbs and vitamin supplements. I'm just, I must say that the Mediterranean diet and the anti-inflammatory diet that I've combined has had an effect. Like, my liver's calmed down a bit now, but
so basically,
it's
like,
just a management thing. We're never going to get better.
Yeah, so like Riley we interviewed the other day, he's curing himself because the medical systems.
I've learnt a lot from Riley following him.
Yeah,
because this nutrition and everything like that. I mean, I was a big meat eater. I was from a farm, so we used to eat a lot of meat, but I also like my veg as well. I like my fruit, but I've got the problem where I had that stomach surgery, so I can't absorb a lot through my stomach. So occasionally I still have to go and have a vitamin infusion or something like that. Still getting blood tests done, and like now, it's not a clotting disorder, but now like when I have my bloods done, it's taking them a long time to try and get blood out of me. And I can see that when they got it in the vial, my blood is different. And I go to the same phlebotomist every time I get the bloods. I get the same woman every time. It's either 1 or 2 women. And they know me regularly because I was in there every second week having bloods drawn. And they've noticed a difference in my blood. And if they can notice it, how come the hospitals in there aren't noticing it? Every time I've gone to hospital, everything's fine on the documentation. There's nothing wrong with you. But yeah, when my GP gets stuff done, it's different. And I'm very lucky I've now got a GP who's now witnessing a lot of it. She went through her patient records and she's really supportive. She's Indian, so she does a little bit of the Ayurvedic medicine, and I believe that's helped I've got a Chinese medicine practitioner, I say. So I've kind of gone the old ways of doing things now. And I think if I'd kept going with the allopathic system, I'd be dead. I believe these other practitioners, these more holistic practitioners, have been helping. But as I said, Michael, it's a management. We can't cure it now. It's just a management of the symptoms.
So here you are right now. You've made infertile. You have one child. You finally got a house.
Yep.
So you got the Australian dream, but you've arrived there.
Yep.
And you might not live, I hate to say it.
To see it all out.
To see it all, see a child grow old.
Yeah.
And this has happened from the start.
Yeah.
What would you like to happen if you had a choice, they said to you, whatever you want, whether you want justice, whether you want
I want
truth.
justice for all of us, not just us vaccinated, but for everybody who suffered through this shit, for the unvaxxed that lost their bloody jobs. It was wrong what they did. People lost their houses, people living on the street. And it wasn't because they refused to jab and they lost their jobs. It was the fact they had a bloody mortgage they couldn't pay and they couldn't get out of. You know? And then there's people that, like, what happened over in Melbourne? They're shooting civilians.
I was there.
Yeah, you were one of them. It was wrong.
Yep.
Like, you've got a stupid fucking general, excuse my French, but the fact that they put a general in charge of a health episode told me it was a military operation. And when they ramped up all the lockdowns and everything like that, they've never ever done that for any other epidemic or pandemic. Never. We've never masked. We've never locked down. Did they do it for tuberculosis? Did they do it for the bird flu, the swine flu? No, they didn't. What made this one different? And I believe it was a tester. Call me conspiracy theorist, but yeah, that Agenda 2030 New World Order bullshit. And now this war, this is COVID 2.0 on steroids, what they're about to do. We're going to have lockdowns coming. We're going to have rationing. And then when you have wars and pandemics, you have depressions that follow it, you know. But they've destroyed, they've divided our society over this. They turned loving people against each other. Like, originally I was against the vax, so then I got called an anti-vaxxer. And then I gave in and bloody got it to get a job, got injured by it, and then I'm still a fucking anti-vaxxer and I'm a cooker. And then because I'm injured, like, there's been some friends and family that have told I'm fabricating it, I'm putting it on, I'm lying.
Why would they say that?
Can't lie when, like, some of them were there when the ambulances were called. You know? Like, we've been watching friends and family, like, we've had a few other work colleagues from other friends' works die suddenly, and they were all mandated in their jobs. 9 in one company, and they were all mandated, and they all died suddenly, and they were all under 50. I've noticed the cemeteries out in the country, they're expanding them.
Yeah.
The undertakers are very busy. We've had our way, we've had 3 funerals in 1 week. That's unheard of in a country town.
I've interviewed the funeral directors, or they've talked to me privately how they're burying more people than they've ever buried. And no one talks about it. There's this great silence. And the silence is what's crippling.
Yeah.
Because we can't fix it, we can't talk about it.
No.
And for some reason, here we are.
And, like, the other vaccines that I've spoken to, they're in the same boat. A lot of them feel like more isolated than before because their friends and family, they're that sick, they can't cope financially. That's the other thing, is the financial pressure. The friends and family start running out of money to try and help them. And then eventually they just cut them off. It's like, nah, you're on your own now. I'm lucky I've got my husband and his family who've stood by me, but Jesus, we've gone through bloody hell. And we've gone through a lot of money trying to trying to get the diagnoses. And then you've got a mob like the TGA who say that, you know, oh, they're monitoring everything, but I've got 2 reports in that system and they've not followed any of them up.
How long have they been in the system?
Since 2021. So I had one for the Pfizer and one for the Novavax.
So 5 years and you've never heard back?
I just got a generic letter.
So when you hear the TGA says only 14 have died of the jab? It's
bullshit. There's over 3,000. Because I built a death log on all the deaths and I've been speaking to a lot of people. But that's another thing for another day. The WA vax safety surveillance followed me up 11 months after the first jab. And by then I'd already had a reduction from the second jab. And at the very bottom of that paperwork, it states that you're exempt from having an MRA, but you can have a Novavax after I just had a reaction to a Novavax.
Can I ask you a difficult question?
Yeah.
There's a lack of anger in the community. People are like lobotomized Hindu cows. I'm sorry, they are.
Yeah.
They just don't want to know. And you're probably never going to get the system to acknowledge or say sorry. Not for 50, 60 years, maybe.
Like the thalidomide.
Like thalidomide. Have you managed to forgive yourself for taking it?
No.
Do you think that's the first step to having
I
some
can't
equilibrium
even
in your
forgive
life?
myself for having my boy jabbed.
We'll end it.